Imagine for just a second you're walking down the street with your kid holding their hand, and all of a sudden a stranger comes up, kneels down in front of your kid so they're right eye level with them, and tells your kid that they, not you, are their parent. The way she tells it, the man came up, threw open the door of her car, reached in, unlatched her seatbelt, and then dragged her out. The whole time, she's got younger siblings in the back seat. Yeah, no need for school buses today at Guadalupe School. No students on campus. This is not a terribly old campus, so we're not exactly sure what went wrong with this pipe so soon into its life. That's where the tanker flipped over and sent some of this oil down into the creek. And this is what that oil looks like right now. It's this sort of gelatinous substance that is sort of caking up along the sides of the rivers. You can also see a lot of it flowing down the middle. They've got to make sure that that stuff doesn't get all the way to the Price River. We're going 35, which is the speed limit, and Jeremy is riding his brake to stay that speed on this hill. Now, as we approach this final little hill, you can see how it completely obscures the view of the truck off to the left until just moments before it's too late. Kaysville Fire follows national standards for response times that say firefighters should get to a fire in about 6 minutes.
You want about a minute for dispatch and alarm processing time. You want about a minute for turnout time. And then you have about 4 minutes of travel time.
But Kaysville has just one fire station. If you were to call the fire department with an emergency in a neighborhood, say near Gailey Park, the response would likely be very good. They meet the goal in this area about 9 times out of 10. But if you live in an area a little bit farther away, especially on the west side of town, maybe in a spot near Barnes Memorial Park, the fire department meets those goals less than half the time. That's the case for all the areas shaded on this map. And this is not just a Kaysville problem.
Developers tend to have a lot more money than municipal governments.
Unified Fire Authority spokesman Matthew McFarland says there are growing pains for communities all over the valley doing a lot of development.
So they can throw together a whole subdivision in a lot faster time than a community can put together the money to fund an entire firehouse and all its apparatus.
The Kaysville chief says no one has died and no structure has been lost because of the longer drives, but a second station is needed soon.
We will do whatever it takes to make sure that that gets done.
Mayor Katie Witt says the council is forming a 5-year plan for that station, but they're also committing $5 million this year to a renovation and expansion of City Hall.
If I felt that people's lives were in danger, we would not be making this decision.
In Kaysville, Kyle Harvey, 2 News.
Brick home, 4 square. Here's a brick bungalow.
Jeff Baer has lived in the Liberty Wells neighborhood of Salt Lake City for more than 20 years. In 2019, it's a place it's changing, getting more dense.
So the one home was removed and this was put in its place.
This building is an example of a slot home, a row of connected townhomes situated perpendicular to the street. Jeff doesn't mind high-density housing, but wishes developers would try to blend in some.
It could have been shaped and designed to better interact with the neighborhood.
We're hearing that some community members are concerned that these new developments might not engage a passerby with a front door or enough windows the way that our neighborhoods are built.
Salt Lake Councilwoman Erin Mendenhall has heard the criticism, and it's not just Salt Lake. The city of Denver last year put a ban on buildings like this before eventually drafting some compromise rules.
Council has the time now to help shape the future development of Salt Lake City and our neighborhoods.
We observed similar slot developments popping up on 7th East, 21st South, and a completed one along the S-Line. I called several developers. None wished to speak on camera, but I heard that many buyers prefer these to large apartment complexes, and the added density helps address affordable housing shortages. Mendenhall wants density to fit well into old neighborhoods.
And Salt Lake City is always interested, I think, in looking and learning from other cities instead of reinventing the wheel, and that may be something we need to do here with slot developments.
I'm Kyle Harvey, 2 News.
I miss you so much, man, so much. So proud of you. So proud of you.
Master Sergeant Wesley Dowden of the Utah Air National Guard hasn't given a bear hug like this in 7 months.
Buddy, I missed you so much, man.
This reunion became a school lunchline surprise when it was learned that Dowden's unit wouldn't arrive to Utah until 2 o'clock Monday morning. Here's Mom, Nika.
I think this time with them coming in so late, we weren't expecting it. So we figured we would just do a big surprise there at school.
This one was when I was 3.
Sunday night, the kids knew their dad was getting close. They were making signs, but they thought him still days away, finishing the job Uncle Sam sent him to do.
Across the other side of the world, and he helps people a lot.
But when the kids went to bed, Mom went to the airport.
I'm just super excited to be home.
This is the moment that I looked forward to from the day that we had to say goodbye to him.
In the morning, Wesley hid in the basement, waiting patiently for lunchtime at his 8-year-old school. That's where we caught up with the Dowdens again.
I did hear him this morning while I was in the basement, but I couldn't go, surprise him and say anything, so that was the hardest thing.
But finally, lunchtime came.
Keon! How are you?
Keon was given an official pass from the rest of the day. The next stop, his little brother's school on the Air Force Base. And then, if it's up to Keon,
Play outside with my dad and play sports.
I didn't hear any objections from the Master Sergeant as they left. In Layton, Kyle Harvey, 2 News. The trains here have an almost magical quality about them.
It's almost like a living, breathing thing. It's as close as to a living machine as you're ever going to get.
The trains and the track they're on united the East and the West 150 years ago, shortening a coast-to-coast trip from 6 months to as little as 5 days. A feat and an anniversary lots of people dressed up for.
My husband loves trains and I love history. Anything that has to do with the late 1800s, I'm pretty much there.
20,000 came. Julian brought his son from Germany to see all this.
No, they're absolutely gorgeous. Bright colors, shiny. It's great.
Julian's family rode the train to Utah from Sacramento, gaining a new perspective on how hard it must have been to complete the line.
It's a lot of very rugged country to make your way through building a railroad.
Michael Kwan's great-great-grandfather would know he was there. It's a story passed down for generations.
And they told me about how hard he worked and how poorly he was treated.
But his sacrifice, even in the face of prejudice, paid off. Michael's life would look a lot different otherwise.
At best, I'd be a guy working in China in some job that the central government decided I should do. Here I have the freedom to choose what I want to do.